Hello and welcome to Robinson Wells Hobby Terrain. Today we've got a quick project. We're using the 3D printer today to do a 3D printed Hogwarts. This is a gift for my son. I found this on Thingiverse. It was a free file, but really detailed. I am really impressed with it. It's a good file. There were some issues with it that I had that were issues that came from the fact that I'm using a filament printer and not a resin printer. It has a lot of little stringy bits that come off of it. The detail isn't, I mean, if I made the detail as good as it could possibly be, the print took almost 48 hours to print because I put it at, I think it was the very best millimeter scale. It was like 0.12 millimeters. But it's still, the detail isn't quite as crisp as you would like, and it had a lot of little wispy hairs coming off of it. But still, this is pretty impressive for a 3D printer. I really am happy with it. What I did now is I painted all the roofs, and now I'm going after with a generous shade of Agrax Earthshade. There is really nothing that Agrax Earthshade can't do, and it is pulling out all the detail that is there. Now, there is a lot of detail in this model. I don't want to say there isn't. When I was complaining about the little hairs that are coming off of it, those are basically that it isn't totally crisp and clean. But what there is there's a lot of little window details and a lot of buttresses and a lot of archways, and those really come through here in the dry brush, as you'll see when I get in closer here. You can really see all of these little details that are so good. I tried to clean up all the little fuzzy bits as best I could, but this is such a fiddly little model that I didn't want to sand anything down, so I cleaned it as best I could with my trimmers and my X-Acto knife, and it came out pretty good. And especially when you get the dry brush in there, it pulls out all the details of everything. It looks really good. I'm really loving this model, and especially for a free model, this is pretty impressive. So I painted in the buildings, and now I'm painting in the water. This is mostly, I don't know from the movies if there is actually water at the bottom of this gully, but I assume there is. Why else would there be such a big gully? I know there's a lake next to Hogwarts, but is there water that runs under it? I don't know. There's a lot of bridges. So painting in the water, this is going to get a shade over it, so it's not quite so vibrantly blue, but putting in the blue initially. And then just because I can't film, I'm going to paint in the grass and do it slightly off camera. So sorry about that. Here you can see a little bit more of it. I'm doing the grass in with a fine brush, a detail brush, to do just around the edges of all the buildings. Then I'm going to go in with a larger brush to do in the big broad areas. But for now, the detail brush needs to go in around all of the fine areas, and especially in between these little greenhouses. I'm not sure what these buildings are at Hogwarts. Those right there, the little white topped buildings. I think they're greenhouses where the mandrakes are kept. I'm not sure. Now I'm putting in a shade over the green. Want to say a thank you to all my patrons: Susie G, Melissa Black, Holly Jacobs, Shell S, Kirsta Christensen, Gianna Stay, Patty Wells. You guys make this channel possible, and I really appreciate your support. It helps a lot, and if anybody wants to help out and join, you can help me on Patreon, or You can always go to Buy Me a Coffee and buy me a tube of paint. I don't drink coffee, but I go through a lot of tubes of paint. So you can find those links in the description below. So painting in all of the shading on the grass, the top of the grass I'm not going to shade because I'm covering it with flock here. So squeezing out the glue. This is just Elmer's glue, Elmer's glue wall. You got to make sure that you're not using Elmer's school glue, but thin it down with water a little bit. Mix it up. I find that I mixed up a little too much water into the glue here, and so it's a little runny, and so I'm going to add a little bit more glue. But now I'm just painting the glue onto the model wherever I want the grass to be, and then I'm going to flock it with some woodland scenics. So you can see this is getting a little drippy. It's going to drip a little bit, and there it goes. So now I'm going to add some more glue to the mix. Stir it in so it's a little thicker. Now we've got some thicker glue. But yeah, adding in some woodland scenic flock. I'm going to do it by sections, starting with this first section over here. So now once I get the glue in, I'm going to add the flock in, and then I'll work in other sections to put the flock into the other sections. And I'm waiting. I'm going to leave the flock on there for a little while so it has time to set and dry, and not immediately try to brush the flock off. So I'm leaving it on in big loopy piles and letting it set. It's kind of fiddly getting in here between all of these with the glue. I don't know if anyone in the comments knows what those buildings are. I would appreciate it because it has me really. I love the layout of Hogwarts. I love how awesome it looks. It is a really well art designed castle. Um, but if anyone knows what those buildings are in the comments, leave me a note and say these are greenhouses or these are dormitories or I don't know. I have no idea what they are. So let me know. And just finishing up. Last little bit. Now it's all set. Gonna tap it all off. Dump it all out. Now the final thing is some highlight detail. There are some pine trees that are painted on that are modeled into this, and I'm painting all of those in a little bit different shade of a little more vibrant green. So now it has pine trees that surround it. I also clean up the base so that it has a clean black base around it. And that is pretty much it for the model. This is how she looks. I really love this little build. My son has not seen any of this yet, but he loves Harry Potter. He is going to love this. He loves models. He is the perfect age for this kind of thing. And so anyway, thanks guys for watching. I hope that you all have a good week. Hope that you all stay safe and stay healthy and wear your masks. And I will see you next week.